Hello literature connoisseurs. This is my complete review of Nicolae. As stated numerous times, this book is completely worthless. The writing is garbled and incoherent at times. With 90% of the story being a rehashing events from the previous two books in the series. It becomes a typical mouthpiece for the authors to spread their religious propaganda. During the course of this book the Antichrist's girlfriend becomes pregnant, so they had to slip in their beliefs about abortion. They also try to paint the victim mentality where Jews and Christians are the only ones to be persecuted by the New World Order. Lastly, we get a supposed prophecy that is impossible to occur without the entire planet being destroyed. Ideally, the focus of the book is to preach to the choir. The book starts off with apparently World War III going on, and we never really get told when this war ends. It's easy to come to false conclusions because of what is written. We get from listening to Rayford as he eavesdrops on Nicolae and news reports. We are told that Nicolae dropped numerous bombs on the 3 countries that rebelled against him. Despite wiping major cities out and killing numerous people, he then sends in his army to fight against those countries' armies. So the confusion comes in whether the bombs defeated the rebels or not. Later in the book Buck meets with a third group of rebels that have nothing to do with the war, and Buck has to escape the fighting as he brings Cyan to safety. With the United States being one of the rebel countries at war with Nicolae, apparently a large crowd of Americans are able to attend worthless Bruce's funeral or whatever it was that was held as a memorial for him. At first they called it a funeral, but when the time approached it was suddenly changed into something else. This becomes a major problem with the books because the continuity is confusing. The authors and the books have not aged well because what they consider cutting-edge technology by today's standards is rather pathetic. About 3 times we get characters asking, how can people not believe that the Bible is true? This would only be a legitimate question if we ignore the counterexamples that many atheists have said about why the Bible is not true, and if the so-called prophecies or events were actually happening and not merely written in a story. In 2025 a pastor came out and gave a rapture date stating the rapture would happen on that date. Numerous Christians believed this claim, believing by their faith that the rapture would occur. Some sold all their personal property or donated it only to find that the rapture did not occur, and many were now homeless and jobless with no money in the bank. To make matters worse, numerous others stepped forward publishing videos explaining why God changed his mind in their opinion to a new date. Creating an endless cycle of failures that forces them to believe it's a win rather than admit the truth. The main problem with Christianity and basically all religions is the poor arguments made to support them. Rather than fact-based evidence, they use the same debunked weak arguments that appeal to the simple-minded. Religions need to have people be weak-minded and gullible in order to fool them into believing. A wise person does not fall for such nonsense. This is why Christianity capitalizes on the ignorance of their believers. In order to appeal to their egos, the religion tries to build up the idea that only a smart person believes in a God. Yet the only way to believe in their God is by faith. Faith being believing something without evidence or proof. If there were proof or evidence, then you would not need faith, but since there is no way to prove that their imaginary friend exists, they must appeal to faith. The trouble is that can be used to justify anything, and this shows the fallacy of using it to believe in their God. Any religion can use faith as a foundation, so if one were to say that only Christianity is the true religion, when why appeal to something that can prove every other religion is true? Someone who molests children can use faith as a foundation that what they are doing is good. Same for a drug user. The list is endless, but if a God were real, then shouldn't there be a way to prove distinctively that the religion stands out and cannot be false? Something as concrete as humans need to breathe air to survive. Yet we have none of that. So, if their God exists, then why must they resort to a flawed method in order to supposedly prove their beliefs are correct? But lie and tell the simple-minded that if they believe, then they are smarter than others, then by appealing to their egos. They'll believe in order to make themselves feel smart. Here we get the emperor's new clothes, and that they must believe the emperor has clothes on, or they are stupid, and rather than admit that, they make believe in the emperor's fake clothes. The trouble is that even a simple child can tell that the whole thing is foolish and the emperor is naked. This ends my review of Nicolae. Unfortunately, there is not much in it to really dive deep. The next book Soul Harvest sounds even worse because an online poll show that most readers, especially Christians, quit reading the series at this point. See you next time for Chapter 1 of Soul Harvest.